Hi and welcome back to my film and TV channel. Hope you're all staying safe and well on the penultimate episode of this year anyway, of the 2023 The Apprentice Season 17. We're up to episode 11. So we're up to the interviews to try and get this 250 grand off Lord Sugar. Took place on the 16th of March 2023. So have a quick look back and we'll look forward obviously to next week's final. So we'll talk about that. Please, if you are new to the channel, please push that subscribe button, push the bell notifications, everything film and TV of course. So it'd be great if you can jump on board, spread the word, and if you're pushing buttons, if you can press that little like button guys, it'd be very much appreciated. I'm trying to get about 15 to 20 likes. 15 would be nice. If you can get me up there, it'd be most appreciated. Yeah, by little old me. Yes, it's like me getting through an interview, but how these girls struggled. It was horrible, wasn't it, guys? So let's have a chat about it anyway. Yeah, the final five. Of course, last week on the dog food task, we lost the final bloke. We lost Simba. A little unlucky to be going, I think, last week. It wasn't the worst, but I think overall it was probably the right decision. So we ended up with, I did a top five. I had Rochelle at the bottom, Marnie, Danny, Victoria, and Megan. And yes, well, we'll talk about that. But I'll be honest with you, there's no one standing out in this lot. I mean, it could have been, you know, I could have switched that top five around. They weren't really impressing me. And obviously, when it comes to the business plans, etc., you've got to think of what Lord Sugar's involved in at the moment, what he might fancy picking up in the future, that sort of thing. And I think this certainly came into the equation with one of the girls who got to the final anyway. So let's have a quick look through the interviews. And I must say, the business plans of these girls, I mean, some of them are in business already. I mean, it's a long time since I put business plans together. We're talking probably 30-odd years ago to get loans, etc. And I've done things like this, but the lack of insight and knowledge these girls put into the business plans is unbelievable. I'm not saying it's easy to do one, but obviously that's the whole point. They know it's going to come down to this. Perhaps some of them weren't expecting to get this far. I don't know, but most, if not all, of the business plans were atrocious. So anyway, we had Karen, Mike, Linda and Claude doing the interviews. And Rochelle, yeah, hair salons and academies her thing. Karen said, obviously a bit dubious, open a second site in Belgravia where Karen lives, apparently very expensive. Oh, there's a surprise, yeah. 130k rent, but apparently in her business plan, but Karen was saying it was like 230,000 was the cheapest she found. She said she was out of her mind doing that. She was paying stylists £12.50 an hour. Doesn't sound good for London, does it? But they get tips and stuff, so that probably makes it up. When Mike spoke to Rochelle, yeah, he was questioning the size of the salon. She did say she might have underestimated it. He did say there was a size of three car parking spaces, so obviously not exactly luxurious is what she's aiming for. And she did say she'd reassess the size. Linda pointed out that she was opening a new salon every 6 months and that it was a fairy tale and a pipe dream, unachievable, and she probably agreed with her, Rochelle. So she said, well, why did you write it then? Which is a good point. And Claude, yeah, he just said the numbers not make great reading and they were totally reckless. So, yes, a good fist of it from Rochelle on the interviews. About Marnie, well, she's going for this mid-range gyms, isn't she, or boxing gym. But, of course, Karen pointed out, obviously, she took a lot of loans and grants so far, which none have come through yet. They're just waiting for certain things to be signed. So, hell of a lot of money involved in that, which, of course, Lord Sugar's 250k looks a bit small compared to it, about 350,000 in loans and grants, etc. But there's nothing signed, so Karen pointed that out. Mike said there's 21 gyms in a 1 mile radius of where she wants to put a second gym, and that she's throwing herself to the lions, which is fair enough. Linda pointed out she'd never run a gym before. Again, nothing wrong with that, and in fact it wasn't investable in any way. And we never got to see Claude and Marnie, so we don't know what Claude said to Marnie. Next one was Danny. She wants to buy and sell hair extensions to other salons. Karen was structured on brilliant structured online shop currently, but Karen did point out she looked at the site and there was no products on it. So, and we got the first tears. I think we got a couple of the girls crying. Got the first tears from. Yeah, Karen's very hard, isn't she? Very hard. And she did say she wished she spent more time on the budget plan. Yeah, I think they could have all said that. Mike was in a bad mood after seeing the plan, so that wasn't great, was it? Apparently, it was a confidentiality agreement that he had to sign, and then he made her sign it as well. But apparently, she didn't realise it was on the template. So. Again, just really bad, but that was quite funny making her sign it as well. 10,000 marketing to reach millions of customers. Yeah, it's a bit way out there to be unrealistic, I think he called it. Linda was questioning the USP, which is basically everything with a mermaid theme to it, the mermaids and the ocean. But Linda said they don't exist. So, but hey, we know what we're saying about the USP, obviously. But obviously, mermaids do more appeal to the younger element. I don't think they particularly appeal to the older ladies. Not really a USP, Linda said anyway. But she did claim customers would leave the experience feeling like a mermaid. What the hell that? I don't know. Probably could leave the salon soaking wet. I'm not too sure. Claude obviously questioned. She didn't really know the difference between turnover and profit. And 84% of the 250,000 of Lord Sugar would go on hair. Yes, about 210k. So Claude wasn't very happy about it. Victoria, yeah, pick and mix kiosk. This is a... Yeah, struggling on the USP for this one. Karen questioned the business plan again. So many holes in it, no staff costs. Who's working the kiosks? The tooth fairy, she did ask, which was quite funny, which was a big mistake. And we get tears again. We get more tears from Victoria, who was the first to tear up. The other lady, the one I just spoke about, was second to tear up. Mike said there's so many grammatical and spelling mistakes throughout the first 3 pages. Never mind the rest of it. I think it's bigger than that. But she said she's not an expert in English, but apparently there's 33 errors in the first 3 pages. There is a thing called spell checker and grammar checker, and you can get that free of charge to a certain extent. So I don't think there's any excuse. That's pretty poor. She said she was self-educated, leaving school after the GCSEs, but as he pointed out, that doesn't mean you're self-educated. You've had a basic school education. Does she manufacture any product? Is she a unique distributor? No. So what's different? And obviously she was going on about, she kept harping on about her boxes were nice. And he did pull out one that was from a different competitor, and he did say there's no difference in the boxes, although she stood her ground and said no, hers was nicer. But so doubted the USP. Linda said there was no gap for this, it's a saturated market. And she said, just let your little cottage industry grow. You can always go back to stewardessing, which didn't go down well. And Claude, 7,500 per week a kiosk, and the rent is 390,000. I think she put 90,000 in a plan, but I said something about discounts. So she waffled on about, but basically she'd made a mess. She had no price on stock. The stock was costing her nothing apparently from Cloud Cuckoo Land. She made a mistake on that as well, and Claude just said it was absurd and said bye-bye, and that was it. And the final one on the interview is Megan, who wanted a sweet shop candy, a sort of milkshake sort of thing by day in a cocktail bar at night. Karen said the business plan was crazy, no substance, 14 pages long, not enough, too busy. She said she was too busy to do a better one, which not a great thing to say. Karen said it's rubbish. 600,000 is realistic, the sort of figure she was coming up with, and just said bye-bye to her. And of course she made the big mistake, oh dear, of calling Karen, I'm not your friend, love, but I'll call you Karen. I can call you love, don't I? Yeah, but she didn't call her Baroness Brady. She said Karen, but Karen did point out it's Baroness Brady to you, and only her friends call her Karen. Well, she probably won't get called it much then, will she? In fairness, Mike. We didn't get to see what happened with Mike. Linda, what are you, family orientated or an adult bar? She didn't like the idea. She didn't like the sort of jack of all trades things. She said a liquor license, which she didn't have, can take between 3 months and 2 years. So she wasn't happy. And Claude investing 250,000 in new brands. There was no costings in the plan, a measly profit at the end of the day. And as a numbers man, Claude said, the numbers are awful and this is hopeless. So no one really, for me, came out of the interviews very well. Not that they normally do in a normal year. They always look for the bad things, of course. So we end up with the 5 girls in the boardroom. As I said, generally, it was a pretty poor. The business plans are poor. No excuses for me. I'm sorry, if you're going to go into this process, you've probably come up with you have to come up with an idea, perhaps to get into the process in the first place. There's lots of other things, of course there is, but you've got to come up with a decent business plan. You've got to put some time and effort into it. You know, based on this, none of these 5 girls for me deserve any sort of investment. I just don't think they've worked hard enough. They might have their own little businesses, but I think it's quite pathetic in theory. But we do end up with 2 girls, and we'll end up with 1 girl getting 250,000. So let's hope she pulled one of them or 2 of them pull the fingers out. They get to the final. Yeah, so we went to the boardroom. They were laughing at Rochelle when they were chatting about her and the salon in Belgravia, more like Barney, I think Lord Sugar said. Unrealistic. She'd do better if she stuck to in and around the area. She knows. And of course, when she came back into the room, he said, Belgravia, you're having a laugh. And she was quoting 9.4 million turnover from 10 salons in 5 years. But you got the impression when she wasn't in the boardroom that they thought there was potential, but obviously it was just all fell down at Belgravia. Marnie, yeah, the big business loans, it wasn't stacking up, but it could do. So again, bit positive. So those 2, Rochelle and Marnie, when they weren't actually in the boardroom, they were the ones getting the positivity, whether they're the ones who were picked. But they said they could do it. Marnie could do it, but had to be modified. I mean, she wasn't paying trainers. They were relying on making their own contacts. So a little bit naive, but it was definitely better critique for her. And of course, Alan Sugar called it fantasy boxing when she came into the boardroom. But as I say, we'll find out in a second. But it's no spoiler on this. You've watched it yourselves, guys. But those 2 did sort of stand out in the initial discussions. Danny, of course, naivety, 210,000 to spend on her. She had no clue about the numbers. This mermaid brand, silly. Figures were a mess. Basically, when she got back in the room, Danny was sort of told bye-bye, and that was it. That was the end of Danny, a really bad business plan. Victoria miscalculated the rent by 300,000, as we saw. No stock, no staff. I mean, she had no staff payments. Business plan, no labour or employees, and nothing unique. So another one that Lord Sugar just said bye-bye to. Megan, liquor lice might be a problem, numbers are nonsense, and Lord Sugar called the business plan criminal, but I think they all were pretty criminal. So we were left, obviously we lost 2 there, so we were left with Megan, we were left with Marnie, and we were left with Rochelle. And of course, as I said, the two that got, when they first went back into the boardroom without the girls there, the 2 that were a bit more positive from the guys, from the interviewees, if you like, when they're talking to Lord Sugar, and the 2 he finally picked. So the clues were there, obviously, from what they were saying before the girls came back in the room. And unfortunately, Megan was not to be one of them. We were left with Marnie and Rochelle, who make the final. And next week, it's the final. So obviously they'll get joined by some of the other crew coming back. But yeah, poor for me, poor an entertaining series, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy it, but as far as what he's left with, I would probably put Marnie's the favourite, only because it's a bit more of something that perhaps Lord Sugar isn't involved in at the moment, with the boxing, the gym. I don't think he's got anything like that, and he's always looking to diversify a little bit. Rochelle's hair thing, it's going to be difficult, and he certainly wouldn't want to open one in Belgravia. I think they're more in line with whatever she's doing, open it in and around Milton Keynes, where her original one is at the moment. But if he wants something a little bit different, I say they're quite positive on Manu with a few tweaks. So yeah, going into the final next week, I would say Marnie probably starts the favourite. But we'll see. Let me know what you thought, guys. Anyway, did you enjoy it? So the interviews are always nice. Any series, even the people who might put a decent business plan together, which very few and far between I can remember. But as I say, it's a bit silly, really, isn't it? You've got to come up with a decent business plan. Let me know your thoughts, guys. It'd be great to hear from you. Did the right 2 get through? Let me know what you think. Until we meet again, last one thing, don't I? Please, and I'll see you next week for the final. I asked one thing, please. Stay safe, everyone. Bye for now.